Hi, this is Anya Camau from Anya Camau Academy. In my previous video, we saw how to prepare the pants and then how to apply embellishments at the bottom of the legs. Here you see, down the legs and under the embellishments, there's an embroidery stabilizer which has been overlocked together with the fabric at the edges. To build these pants, we will first take care of setting the zipper, which is in the middle of the front below the waist. We are going to place underneath a zipper pad that we also prepared previously. This is to gain comfort and to avoid damaging with the zipper your underwear. There will also be a waist reinforcement. Although these pants have no belt, they still need a waist reinforcement inside so that the top of the pants fits well at the top of your hips. This pants waist is slightly low. Here, to fix this zipper, I first have to close the front crotch. You see below the zipper location. We set right side upon right side the two pieces of the front of this pants. It's easy to know where is the right side and where is the wrong side, since you have the embellishments on the right side and the embroidery stabilizer on the wrong side. As always, I carefully pin with pins perpendicular to the edge of the fabric to be able to sew directly without basting, and then I will sew all with 1 cm of allowance, which is the seam allowance that I set in place. Before, I have to mark exactly where this zipper comes. You see that I carefully note the length of the zipper, taking care that the top of the slider comes slightly below 1 cm of the waist edge, since I also put 1 cm of seam allowance at the waist. I advise you to make notes directly on your fabric. I only take care of the length of the zipper teeth and not of the zipper ribbon. When I know exactly this point where the zipper ends, I'm able to close this crotch with a seam allowance of 1 cm. I remind you, I do not advise you to put more than 1 cm. Then I will press carefully this seam open, and also at the middle front you see edge to edge the two front pieces. My zipper will be placed like this, not like a jean one, but simply edge upon edge, we will say, between the right and the left. I begin by the insertion of the zipper pad under the zipper. It will avoid the zipper to damage my underwear. I finished the top edge of the zipper pad first with a small bias, a small piece of bias in the same color. You see, I have to finish the top. If you do not have a bias, you can simply make a very clean overlock. It will be quite the same, since it won't be visible at all when you will wear these pants. This bias is carefully pinned, sewn on here along the fold, and then folded over and fastened on the other side. Here, the pad of the zipper is finished up. I now take the left front of the pants and very carefully I note where to set the zipper and its pad, and then the edge of the left front piece to have a nice aesthetic result, paying attention especially that the zipper pad stops 1 cm below the waist allowance edge. Why? Because the zipper pad must remain invisible, so it must remain below the seam allowance. You see, I set 2 pins to mark where I should set my zipper on. I'm also careful that the slider of the zipper is at the top of the pad and not above. Then, with a simple stitch along the zip, I fix it on the pad. The zipper is now secured on the pad, and then I just have to make a simple seam to fix the wall on the left side of the front opening of this pants. And I don't take any risk that the zipper and the zipper pad may move while I'm sewing both together with the left front piece. I check carefully that the slider comes well 1 centimeter below the top of the pants, and there you go. I'm just going to make a seam along this zip with a special foot, being careful, as you can see, that the right side of the zip remains free. I'm going to sew along this zip with a special zipper foot. All the sewing machines have got one. No need to stitch very close to the teeth, just make it straight up to the top of the zipper. Here is this left side sewn on. Now I have to fix the zipper right side, and I don't want to sew at the same time the pad of the zipper, which is below. So I fold it below and pin it there carefully underneath the left side to be sure that I won't accidentally sew it at the same time. It's a little difficult to prick in the zipper ribbon, but do it well the same. Then I make exactly the same seam on the other side, a simple straight seam. You are edge to edge, so your zipper will hardly be seen. And I check again that my zipper stops 1 centimeter below the top edge, since I need 1 centimeter of seam allowance at the waist. Here is the zipper set in place with its pad, and you see that the opening works quite well. Now I'm going to close the back crotch. Here you see this back crotch, the left part and the right part. I place these two parts on top of each other, right side against right side, and set pins, always carefully pinning, always perpendicular to the edge, to be able to close this seam with a simple straight stitch. Again, for my seam allowance I choose 1 centimeter. There's no need to set a larger allowance there, because it could upset between the legs. Now I take care of the waist reinforcement. Here I sew together the two parts of this reinforcement along their back that I took care to mark well before. If you haven't marked them, the two edges that are most in the BS are the back. Just 2 pins, a simple seam, and it's done. Of course, after that I press it open. Then I sew this reinforcement with the pants themselves. Right side against right side, the top of this reinforcement with the top of this pants, matching carefully both seams in the middle back. You see that I start pinning this middle back seam. All the seams have been ironed open. It's very important to get a good result. Here, the other end of the reinforcement is pinned until the opening of the front middle, leaving 1 centimeter free, which is the seam allowance to be able to make a neat edge at the end. And then just pin all around the waist. You see that everything is ready. Do not hesitate to set a lot of pins if you are not sure. They will pass well under the machine without any problem. Here, My seam is done and pressed. You see the waist reinforcement above the pants. And then I make a stay stitch at 2 mm on the reinforcement side to fix at the same time the reinforcement and the 2 seam allowances below. This is called stay stitching. It's important to allow to join seam allowance and the piece below, so all together will fold down easily inside. It's a simple technique to get neat edges. Once my stay stitch is done all around, I fold inside allowances and reinforcement at the same time. I set only 3 pins in the middle back seam and at the 2 side seam, and then I will simply have to make a few hand stitches at the front and at these 3 places to finish up with the reinforcement. I don't fix it all around, I don't make stitches all around because it should be visible on the front, on the right side. Before I sew the hem, I have to close the inside of the legs. It's very simple, just make the crotch seam match together, seam on seam, after they are both pressed flat, and then I sew it from one hem to the other. If your fabric has some stretch, I advise you to do it in 2 steps, starting on each side from the crotch down to the hem. Eventually I only have to sew the hem. Here it's very easy since you will be able to unstitch in the embroidery stabilizer and nothing will be visible on the right side. This is the positive side of having this embroidery stabilizer underneath. For these pants I set a hem allowance of 5 cm.